Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Good grief! Turn your clocks back a few years, and NXT, under the always watchful nose of Triple H, was not a developmental brand so much as a hub for work rate indie wrestlers rarely fit to even ride the big boy roller coasters at Universal Studios. There was the occasional exception, of course. Like Velveteen Dream. Gee, whatever happened to that guy? He had such a cool, manly, main event gimmick that in no way would have expired horribly on the main roster. Everyone was giving him head 1 second, and then poof, heavy emphasis on the poof, gone. But hey, this isn't a horror video, so let's move on. Matt Riddle, Samoa Joe, Keith Lee, and EC3, wow, those all sure went well, didn't they? But for the most part, yeah, NXT back then, more hobbits than the Shire. And the big two of this era were none other than perpetual underdog Johnny Gargano and injury-prone psycho heel Tommaso Ciampa. DIY, do-it-yourself, these two originally were charming as everyman babyfaces breaking into WWE. Nothing special. Not main roster worthy. Not even main event of NXT worthy. But a pleasant enough angle and dynamic to be fairly entertaining. Their tag team matches with the Revival way back in 2016 were awesome, and while neither of them had superstar potential, then, now, or forever, they were a likeable enough mid-card act. It was only with Ciampa's infamous heel turn that cracks began to show. In 2018, when he came back, he turned heel on Gargano in 2017. They tried to make a big thing of it. In 2018, as the pair were thrust into the upper card of the WWE's minor leagues, with Ciampa now playing something similar to Kevin Owens' old psycho Ring of Honor character, and Johnny Gargano on paper being a troubled babyface who has to overcome his friend-turned-nemesis. But on screen, not really having any semblance of convincing expression or delivery or body language to back it up, and also a strange habit of not cleaning out his disgusting nose before matches. But anyway, these two cruiserweights threw the kitchen sink at each other in the ring, knocking out half-hour bump festivals. And it's worth noting at this point, Ciampa has missed a lot of time over the years due to knee and neck problems, but has continued to bust out a finisher that saw him drop to his back and take all of his opponent's falling weight on his knees throughout his NXT run. Madness. Absolute madness. And it's the dedication to ridiculous, implausible moves and bumps to try and pop a crowd that is why so many talents these days seem so injury-prone and worn out. These guys simply don't have the larger-than-life presences, looks, and or charisma of yesteryear's top talents, so they absolutely destroy themselves in a painful, doomed bid to make up for it. Alright, so fast forward to 2019, and Gargano and Ciampa got their first taste of the main roster. All that hype, and then, when they stepped into the ring with Cesaro and Sheamus, before we even get to anything else, the size difference was just laughable. These two are obviously in excellent shape. They clearly hit the gym and eat sensibly. But the stretching of the suspension of disbelief, even by modern standards, was just too much. By this point, NXT, the brand that's meant to develop the stars of the future for the world's #1 wrestling promotion, was essentially a big-budget indie, appealing only to smarks and leaving many fresh, scouted, actual developmental talents out in the cold. And back when Gargano won the big NXT gold for a cup of coffee, Ciampa went full indie, coming out to celebrate with his real-life pal, fully out of character, no kayfabe, completely undoing his psychotic, unhinged villain shtick in the process. And even his heel character, though effective with NXT's usual crowd at first, devolved into tedious, predictable, bad guy fare. Needless to say, under Vince McMahon, these two did not get much more big-time traction, and it was for the best. They belonged in the minor leagues. Even Tommaso Ciampa himself basically admitted he'd rather stay in NXT. But in the wake of Vince McMahon's issues. The Triple H hostile takeover has seen his beloved pet projects get featured time and again to relative silence. August 2022, Johnny Gargano arrives on Raw. It's not exactly Stone Cold returning in 2000, let's just put it that way. Ciampa, meanwhile, is just kind of there in The Miz's feud with Logan Paul, and then just kind of there in a feud with The Miz. And before all that, let's just stop and look at what happened after Ciampa's final match in NXT earlier that year. You know, I can honestly say I've never even seen the game be that affectionate with his own wife. What's going on here, really? I get Triple H needs to come out and convince people to cheer for Ciampa because otherwise they won't. So by all means, raise the guy's arm and point at him. But the cuddling, the head-to-head. Is this how friends act? Let me tell you, if one of the mates I go out drinking with on weekends did this, a certain radar would be going off. And let's just remember, the lame Triple H is by a lot of things, but lingual is not one of them. It looks like he might be handing Ciampa a little bit of his own DIY. Anyways, both of these guys, just kind of existing, given more airtime than their painful lack of fan interest warrants, presumably because their NXT daddy's large and in charge behind the scenes now. So you fast forward to now, 2024, and even them teaming together is an angle that goes over most casual fans' heads. Everything the pair went through in NXT, everything that makes their team potentially interesting or their characters more engaging, happened ages ago on a since rebooted product that draws half to less than half of the ratings and interest the WWE's big league shows typically do. Crickets. And yet, this year, they were given a quick tag title run, and just this past week on SmackDown, they picked up a win over both the Street Profits and Pretty Deadly. Let's compare those teams, shall we? Street Profits both have charisma. Montez Ford in particular could probably be a big single star if they stopped wasting his prime. He sports both personality and freakish athleticism. Pretty Deadly, hilarious comedy act. Funny doesn't make money at the top of the card, but in the mid-card tag team world, sure, why not? Two promising teams with plenty of entertainment value, jobbed in service of DIY, all so they can wrestle the Motor City Machine Guns next week. Oh, a real dream match right there. For the often overweight, under-deodorized, virginal smart crowd who have ruined wrestling and its fandom culture with their relentless beat-off festivals to the dorkiest, lamest possible indie names they can find for years on end, that is Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Joining WWE might have been cool. In 2010, now, with Sabin's knees held together by goodwill and well-wishers, and with both men clocking heavy mileage from 2 decades of high-flying and hard bumping, they're stumbling into WWE in the twilight of their careers. And to kick off proper, they're butting heads with the most generic duo in the whole promotion. Now, the funny thing at the end of all this is, Johnny Gargano's little NXT faction, his little attempt at having a personality, The Way, that's what the team was called, The Way actually had a potential superstar well worth pushing on their team. Not generic Johnny, oh no. Austin Theory, remember him? Before becoming generic undercard heel with whack beard, this guy was actually going places. All the traits of a future star, I don't know. Maybe try pushing him again sometime, just a thought. It's almost like, and this will sound insane, it's almost like Vince McMahon, the most successful professional wrestling promoter of all time, actually had a decent eye for talent a lot of the time or something. Crazy, I know.